Hi, my name is Eric Raudsep and I'm running for NC House right here in Durham, North Carolina. I want to talk about something that doesn't exactly encompass the North Carolina House, but a lot of people on social media have been discussing it for the last 24 hours. And this is more of a federal issue, not so much a state issue, but I think it warrants being discussed regardless. And that's the fact that the U.S. national debt, for the first time in American history, has exceeded $20.1 trillion. This is a very significant number, and the reason for it is because our gross domestic product is $18.57 trillion. So we have now hit that historic mark of 110% of our gross domestic product is national debt. This is very significant because if you look at European nations like Greece, Turkey, Spain, Ireland, and all of these nations that have had extreme economic distress over the last couple of years, their problems really start when you hit 110% debt to GDP ratio. So why is the United States kind of insulated from this? Well, the main reason is for the simple fact that the IMF uses the United States dollar, or USD, as the global currency. So as long as the IMF uses the USD as their global currency, we are kind of insulated from all of these problems until we hit a national debt that exceeds $78.28 trillion. So it's a long ways away. Now, here's the cog in the machine. Well, if the IMF chooses to use the euro or a cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin as the global currency, which they've done studies on not too long ago, the United States would find itself in an economic position similar to that to Greece or Ireland or Spain, which is a real huge problem because we would find ourselves in probably one of the largest depressions that the United States has seen in our history virtually overnight. Our economy would collapse if the IMF would ever choose to go with a different currency. So, what can be done? Well, we need to look at our spending policy. We need to make sure that we start reining things in. A large part of this would actually have to be done not so much by the programs that are benefiting the United States citizens, but by the administrative aspects and the administrative costs that go behind these programs. Yes, we'll be opening ourselves up to some more corruption, but if you think that many of these programs spend 2 to 3 times the amount that they dole out in subsidies in administrative costs alone, we can already cut back a lot of these programs just by cutting back the administrative costs. We need to dial these back down to zero, but these are going to take many, many, many years to accomplish because people have gotten reliant on these federal cash funds. So by dialing them back and eliminating them over time, we can be compassionate about how we start controlling the United States government again. And a lot of these things can already be transferred over to the states. Again, it has to be done slowly, but it can be done a lot more quickly than a complete elimination of these programs. But that's a conversation for another time. These programs and the money that we spend currently costs us just in interest $266 billion a year in interest alone. It's one of our largest line items on the national budget. We're currently paying 2.3% interest. Again, largely because we're the IMF's preferred currency. If that status was ever to be taken away, and our interest rate would be adjusted to our debt to GDP ratio, we would expect an interest rate of approximately 7 to 8%. The Federal Reserve, not just the Fed, but the Federal Reserve would have to adjust their interest rates in kind, halting growth of the economy in the United States in large part, because we have been at such historic lows on our interest rate in this country for so long. If we all of a sudden see that type of increase in our interest rate, we would also see that our interest payment would almost be $1 trillion a year. This would be the majority of our budget, not just one of the largest line items. This would devastate our economy, and we would have to seek deferment on a lot of our loans, which would further degrade our credit rating and then drive up our interest rate even further, causing a downward spiral. This is one of the reasons that I believe that the IMF is not going to move their currency away from the preferred status on the United States dollar. However, if it does ever happen, we do need to be prepared for it, and we need to start dialing back the programs like we were talking about before. So, am I worried about it today? No. Tomorrow? Maybe. And in the future? Quite probably. But, again, this is not something we need to be worried about imminently today. So, we need to start looking at common sense solutions, not only on the state level, but also on the federal level. My name again is Eric Raudsep, and I'm running for NC House. Have a great day, and I hope you found this information informative and helpful. Have a great one.